My name is Marco Dollenz, and it's an Austrian last name. I was born and grew up in the United States. I'm an actor and a painter, also an electronic music DJ. You can see some of my equipment back there. But I have a lot of family from Spain, from Italy, from Chile. My character's name in the film is Mark Duran. That would be his name. I've been kind of building his character, and I imagine him coming from parents that have been split. His mother left his father, went to the United States. So I kind of grew up with her there, New York. And while there, I joined the military and worked was in the military for a while. And as a kid, I liked to draw comics and things like that. So it's not hard to dig up all these arguments in my mind of who this guy is, because I have a family from Chile, and they also fall on the two sides. You know, they had the socialist president that was elected in the early 70s, Allende, and he was overthrown by Pinochet in 1973. So, and the ideologies and the mentalities are very similar to the left and the right wing in the Civil War in Spain. So I've heard all these arguments from a bunch of right wing people in my family. I try to just sip my wine and, you know, don't get into too much arguments on those visits. They always call me the communist of the family. They say, oh, aquí llegó Marquito, el comunista. And when he meets Emma, I guess she's trying to get an interview with the politician. I've gotten a gig working as his security at a museum, like an opening or something, and the politician's there. And she just wants to get at him, you know, to get an interview. And we actually get into a conversation about art, which she gets surprised that who's this security guy that seems to know some bits about art. So we get into that conversation. That's how we meet. And then she, of course, she starts to not pay as much attention to me anymore. We have our little discussions and arguments about politics. Obviously, she's a left-leaning, and I understand that, and I really like that about her. In fact, that's something similar to my mother. I start to not be able to find her. She doesn't return my messages. So that at some moment drives me crazy, you know? Yeah. Funny about the character is that he has a lot of things in common with me. I was a security police in the Air Force in the United States. And I trained there, and I was offered to go into Special Forces back in, this is 1987. I joined to somehow impose some kind of discipline on myself. You know, I'd been kind of a troublemaker when I was a kid, so I went off to live alone as an adult when I was 16. At 17, I thought, well, you know, I need to go out and do something adventurous and something different, and maybe even learn some skills, get a little discipline. So I joined the Air Force. People thought I was crazy. I just played a general on a series. It was about Roswell, you know, the UFOs. General Ramey, who was in charge of covering up the UFO incident at Roswell. So my character, I suspect Yolanda made this character up fitting what she knew already about me. I'm like, come on, it's very suspicious, Yolanda. You called him Mark. He was an ex-military guy. Very suspicious. Make it easy on me. I think my character Mark in this film, is more of an introvert. He's more of a brooding type, and he uses his painting to get out, you know, like as a personal therapy, to get his demons out. I've always been an artist since I was a kid. I used to draw, and then when I was like 15, I picked up acrylics and I started to copy paintings from art. I had a bunch of art books that had been given to me, and I would just go through and just do copies. And I paint kind of in that Italian turn of the 20th century style, which was always associated with fascism, which is called futurism. It's kind of a play on cubism, but with dynamic motion. I use my paintings also for creating sort of an image that is kind of a collage of a time and a space and a place and a certain sensation of maybe a partner I'm with in a particular house I'm in, something that incorporates what's been going on in in a wider sense and capture that in one image. So I love creating a sensation that there's different dimensions there. You know, obviously it's like a snapshot of your subconscious or so. So it's that play between geometry and the organic, which is life within the space. I've always thought I'd like to do, you know, what I like to do and try to make money at it. So the three different things. And in fact, I love to cook too. I probably spend more time cooking than I do mixing music or painting. So I love to, and I think everything is about mixing, you know, with cooking, you're mixing flavors. And when you're painting, you're mixing colors. And when you're acting, you're mixing emotions and different people in your head. You know, it's always about mixing, right? So that's the root of art, is just taking and rearranging it and then spitting it back out. So I would really like to experience the ancient Roman.
The Roman Empire.
Not under Julius Caesar, not when it became a dictatorship, but when it was a republic, you know? Because I think that was the most interesting part, where they took a lot of the inspiration from the Greeks and from, you know, it was a republic. And of course, after that, it was became a dictatorship. And I wouldn't be interested in it after it became Christian either. I would want to experience the pagan republic of Rome. So that would be where I would go. Many years ago, I was living in northern Scandinavia. I was living in Denmark and Sweden for a while. And from there, I drove one time with a friend of mine. We crossed to Germany, down to Berlin, Nuremberg, which was a trip because they rebuilt it was completely flattened, right, during World War II. Drove there, spent a few days there, and then this is back in the 90s. So this is, we went driving from there into Poland, and then drove from Poland down into the Czech Republic. I accidentally called it Czechoslovakia to police that stopped me, and he's like, Czech Republic, it's a republic. And I'm like, sorry. Actually, I'm really looking forward to the location. It's bombed out from the Civil War. Wow, I've seen some images, and that must be spooky.
It was actually. We were there in the night. We were shooting in the night. That was very scary.
Wow. Yeah, I look forward to that. I'm also lucky that I got a couple of weights. Like when I moved into this house, I went out and bought weights because I thought, well, you know, the rent is a little higher, so I'm gonna cut out some of my spending. So I don't need the gym. I should just have some weights and then go jog or something. So I bought the weights, and I'm lucky because if I wouldn't have had those weights, man, I just spent all the time, you know, going from the terrace to the kitchen. So I've been cooking, put on like 5 kilos, but I've been doing the weights every morning. So I think I put on some good muscles. So now I just need to lean down, since I have to be all cut, mean looking for the film. I figure I have like a month, at least a month and a half, right? I spend like 2 hours cooking. That's one thing that I had to learn to do, because normally I cook really fast. So I was like, well, I got all the time in the world. I got to learn how to cook slow. You know, like what's that scene with Joe Pesci and who else is it, where they're in prison and they just cutting the garlic really thin, you know, because they gotta kill the time. Like, I think I'd go with a philosopher. I think one of my favorite ones, which he's actually associated with cooking and wine. He's like the philosopher of pleasure. The more pleasure for the most people, for the most amount of time, which is Epicurus. So I think that would be my partner in crime there. God, you know, what do you think? I mean, is things really going to go back to normal life? I think, you know, I had all these plans to start doing events, and maybe even I had some partners, potential partners come visit from Argentina and someplace else. And we were looking at spaces to make like a little micro club, you know, with electronic music. But man, that could be like years before that goes back to normal. I can't imagine people crowding into any place anytime soon.